What's going on, everyone? My name's Tim Williams. We're here to break down tonight's 14-game MLB slate over on DraftKings. If you're new to the channel, welcome. What we do here is we break down these games individually, one by one. We'll go through, we'll talk over under who's favorited, we'll talk weather concerns. We're going to talk pitching, hitting. We're going to look at MLB statistics, see where teams rank, and then all this other research that I'm putting into along with some of the pricing on DraftKings. So basically, I'm doing all this research. We're putting in the work for you so you can make decisions a lot easier. If that sounds good to you, make sure to hit that subscribe button right below in the description here and in the corner of this video. First things first, we got the Marlins taking on the Phillies. I don't have the over-under for this one quite yet. Looks like it's going to be a bullpen game. If anytime I see Nieder in the starting pitching lineup for the Marlins, I definitely have interest on the other side. And then Wheeler at 10K looks like to be one of the best pitchers on the slate. I will pay that price. It seems like a little bit of an overpay. He has been great, 27% strikeout rate, 47% ground ball rate. I do love those two combined. He really limits fly balls. It looks like it's going to be some good hitting weather in this one, but I'm not really too concerned about Wheeler. He's going to be owned. He's going to be chalk. The matchup's great. Marlins 6th overall in the majors in strikeouts. They can't really hit for average, on base percentage, home runs. So Wheeler's in a great spot here. And then for the hitting, not interested in the Marlins. And then on the Philly side, if it's going to be a bullpen game, those are kind of trickier to pin down. I think the Phillies are definitely in play. If we get closer to lock and we kind of figure out who's going to be pitching or how this game's going to roll out, I really like the left-handed bats. Harper mainly at 5-4, but really everybody's in play here. I think the Phillies look great hitting environment. Next, you have the Rays Orioles, 9 over under here. Rays are favorited here on the road. Patino taking on Harvey. I think this is going to be a very popular game as far as the bats go. Not really interested in either pitcher here unless you're really trying to get creative or weird in some of those major contests. But yeah, on the Rays side, I like the lefties first against Harvey. Harvey has pitched okay at times here. Really struggles against left-handed batters this season. Meadows, Choi, Lau are the top 3 I would get to. Lau priced up. I think DK knows something's up. I think the Rays are going to be popular here. I wouldn't mind a full stack. Wendell, Margot, if to get a little bit, add some guys in there. A Rosarina. Realistically, everybody's kind of in play here. The Rays are going to be popular, so keep that in mind if you're making single entry or 3 max contests. You got to get different somewhere else, maybe in your mini stack. And then on the Orioles side, I have just as much interest. Right-handed bats for me first against Patino. Patino's looked good, but his numbers are just too small of a sample size to really pick from. So I love me some Hayes, Mancini, Galvis, even Mullins in there as a lefty, but love this game as far as upside goes. Next, we have the Mets Braves. Don't have the over-under yet when I was looking at data this morning. This is kind of an oddball one. They called up Davidson for the Braves. He'll be starting against the Mets. And then on the Mets side, it says Spooky, or I also heard that Yamamoto might be starting as well. So it looks to be like a bullpen game on both sides. So it's kind of just anything goes. I think both teams are solid. Both teams are in play. I wouldn't go with pitching here. If you're making, 10 lineups, I would definitely have a Mets stack and I would definitely have a Brave stack. You just don't know what's going to happen. I think maybe Mets will be sneaky. They'll be somewhat under-owned here. And then on the Brave side, I think they're really expensive. It might be tough to get there, but I think there's some pay down options at pitching where you can really full stack the Braves. So just because there's nothing there as far as like in play, I really do like both teams here. Next, we have the Red Sox Blue Jays. Blue Jays at home in Florida. 9 over under here. They're favorited. Rodriguez taking on Ryu. To me, this is just a really good pitching matchup. It's going to be really hard to get to the bats. Mainly, on the Red Sox side, obviously they crush the ball. They look great. Ryu really limits damage here. He's striking out guys 24% of the time. He has a low walk rate. He doesn't give up too many fly balls. The park isn't good for either pitcher, but I would lean more on the Blue Jay side. Ryu, I don't think I'd roster any of these pitchers today. Rodriguez doesn't look so bad himself, 26% strikeout rate, but the ERA is kind of crept up. He does give home runs. I think the Blue Jays will be somewhat under-owned here, and that could be very interesting in GPPs. Guerrero, the main guy I'm interested here, 5.8K. It's crazy what he's been doing against lefties, albeit small sample size, 8.6 strikeout rate, walking 34% of the time. He looks to me like a surefire winner in this one. I think the Blue Jays are going to go low owned. I really love the righties here. So that could be a sneaky stack, pricey, but sneaky. Next, you have the Nationals taking on the Cubs, 8.5 over under. There's going to be a few games on this slate that there's some bad weather. This is being one of them. It's rainy. Wind is blowing in. I originally had a decent amount of interest. Corbin taking on Davies. Not really interested in either pitcher. Corbin at 6-1 is kind of a nice price. Cubs do strike out. He has been awful against right-handed batters. And then Davies just plain stinks. 13% strikeout rate, walking guys nearly 13% of the time as well. He can easily get ganged up on. So, I mean, both teams are in play for me. Nationals, Bell, Schwarber, Turner, Soto, they're going to get ownership. And then on the other side, I think the Cubs, the righties I really love here. I love a full stack, Brian Contreras, Baez, get a Duffy in there, get a Bodie. It's just, the weather doesn't look good and the wind, excuse me, is blowing in. So I actually don't love this game as much as I did earlier this morning. So next we have the White Sox taking on the Twins, 8.5 over under here. White Sox favorited. They blew the slate up yesterday. If you had White Sox stacks, chances are you made some money. Lynn taking on Pineda. Lynn, 9.8K. I think the price is fine. It's a tougher matchup here against the Twins. And then Pineda, I wouldn't take a chance on him on the White Sox. Obviously, we know what the White Sox can do. I prefer White Sox bats against left-handed pitching, so I'm not going to be on this one. And then on the other side, left-handed batters for the Twins, but it looks like this is one of those games where there's going to be some bad weather. I don't know if they're going to play some of it or all of it, or there's going to be delays. So keep an eye on this one. This one might be a pass, plus there might be a lot of ownership. So next we have the Pirates, Cardinals favorited here, 7.5 over under. You have Brubaker taking on Gant. Lot to say about these pitchers here. Brubaker, 7.6K. I really don't mind him at this price here. If you look at their offenses, you look at the average on base percentage, home runs, strikeouts, they're almost identical as far as where they lie, except for the power. Pirates last in the league in home runs. And then the Cardinals 6th overall in the league in home runs, but everything else is just about the same. So basically the Cardinals are basically like the Pirates, just with a lot of power. I really do like Brubaker here though. He can give up home runs. He usually gives up maybe one a game, but strikeout rate's not bad, 25.5%. He gets ground outs. He really does limit fly balls. So I actually don't mind him here. The Cardinals aren't that scary. Lefties hit better against Brubaker, and the Cardinals are kind of full of switch hitters and righties. So Brubaker, somewhat of an option, probably the lowest pitcher I would get to. And then Gant on the other side, he hasn't really been good. 18% strikeout rate, 17% walk rate. He is decent against righties, but and he gets 63% ground balls from against righties, but lefties really do hit off him very well. So give me Frazier, Reynolds, Polanco, those lefties first. I might have to get some salaries somewhere, right, for paying up for pitcher, paying up for stack. So I actually don't mind those three. I don't think I'd full stack it because the ceiling isn't there for the Pirates, but definitely interesting plays, maybe as a one-off. And then on the Cardinal side, I don't have a ton of interest. The 7.5 over under total just doesn't really get me going on a 14 game slate. So next we have the Yankees Rangers, 9 over under here. Tyon taking on Fulte. We all know Cole was a big bust last night, and that's because the Rangers are actually pretty good. I had some lineups with Cole in it. I had some lineups without Cole. Tyon at 7,400 isn't a bad price at all, especially facing the Rangers, who do strike out. 30.7% strikeout rate, but he is pretty bad against lefties. And Rangers have some nice left-handed bats in that lineup. They're actually one of my favorite stacks early on. Sneaky, I would hope. And then, Folty pitching for the Rangers, 5.6K is a little too cheap, but the slate's just too big. I don't think I'll really get there. Maybe I'll make one lineup with him in it. He's not bad against right-handed batters. The Yankees are full of right-handed batters. But he isn't very great overall. So on the Yankee side, when we're talking bats, they have a ton of power, second overall in home runs. They can get on base. Very much in play. I wouldn't be surprised if Folty gives up a home run or two. I wish they had some more, decent lefties in that lineup. It's just kind of like Gardner, and then on the other side for the Rangers, Calhoun, Lowe, Gallo, Dahl. Love all of those guys. Those guys can all hit for power. I said it yesterday on yesterday's video. Calhoun had a shot against Cole. He hit a bomb. So I like getting back to the Rangers here and then throwing in Garcia as well, 3.5K. I'm curious where the ownership's going to go. If people are going to be rostering Tyon, I would love to get to the Rangers. If people are rostering the Rangers hitters, I'm just going to stay away. So interesting matchup for sure. Next, we have the Brewers Royals. Not much to talk about in this one, 7.5 over under. There is going to be some rain in this one. Woodruff, one of the best pitchers on the slate by far, 10.2K. He is the ace. The strikeout percent is very real, 33%. Taking on a Royals team that does not strike out very much. They kind of put balls in play. And then on the other side, Bubik called up for this one at 4K, stone minimum. Originally, I was like, maybe I take some shots. He's not as good against righties. Again, the sample size is too small. Kane, Garcia, Taylor, if he plays, I think they're all somewhat in play. They have some power. But I think I'm just going to fade this one with the weather being so bad. Even Woodruff, I hate to say it, but I think I'm going to move on. Maybe go to Wheeler. Next, we have the Indians taking on the Angels, 8 over under here. Plesac taking on Heaney. I feel like these guys are just the same as far as pitching goes. One's a righty, one's a lefty, whatever. It's hard to get to this game. I think Trout's going to be out. Indians they're just tough to roster because the only thing they can really do is hit home runs, but they don't strike out very much. So that doesn't really look good for Heaney. Heaney does give up home runs here. So I'm kind of just taking shots at one-offs here. Reyes, I love. It seems like his price never really gets higher than 4.3K. So that's a really good, solid play there. Ramirez, I have to put him there, but he's just too expensive, but I could see why he would get there. Hernandez, 3.9K. I don't know if I'm, getting there. I don't know if I could full stack or even get to a 3-man stack with the Indians. And then on the other side, Angels, they are good. They're slipping a little bit. They don't strike out that much. So I don't have a ton of interest in Plesac. I love the lefties here. I really love Ohtani here, 4.9K. He's just a stud. He's one of my favorite players. He's just been so good. I just think he's going to be over-owned, so I might just have to fade him based on ownership. Walsh is a sneaky one too, 4.5K. Really love both of those bats. Next, we have the Astros and the A's. No favorite here, 8 over under. Javier taking on Manaya. Javier, 9.2K, little too pricey. 29% strikeout rate. That's great. It's the only thing I think he can do when you look at his underlying metrics. He also is walking guys 9% of the time. He has the stuff to get you out. The A's can strike out, but the A's can also beat up on guys and they can hit home runs. They're 6 overall in home runs. Manaya, no interest there. The Astros are just too damn good. First in average, third in on-base percentage, 14th in home runs, last in the league in strikeouts. They're literally the one team I would never want to put a pitcher up against. Major interest in the Astros bats here. I think they go under-owned. They are just very expensive. Altuve, 5.7. Bregman, same price. Correa, that's just too much for him. Gurriel at 5.1K. It's a lot, but these guys are damn good. And then I threw in Tucker here just because he's so cheap. He shouldn't be that cheap. He actually hits lefties okay. Same with Yordan Alvarez, and you know what those guys can do. So, and then on the A side, somewhat interested here against Javier, only as like a leverage play. Olsen, Brown, super cheap, 2.8K, especially if he's hitting in the second hole. Laureano, Chapman, Canna, they're all just really cheap. I don't hate it if you're like playing, $1 mini max or whatever. Just throw this lineup in, right? Like there's nothing wrong with that. I think the ownership's going to be super low on the bats. Next, we have the Diamondbacks Dodgers. No over under here. Kelly taking on Urias. Not interested in Kelly nor any of the D-backs here. And then Dodgers, Urias, I do have some interest in. 27% strikeout rate. He's got to hit it with that price. Gives up a lot of soft contact. Dodgers, 10th in average, on base percentage great. They're a little bit banged up. If they go under owned, I really love them here. I think literally everyone is in play. Second to last game here, Rockies, Padres, 7 over under. Padres favorited, Gomer taking on Snell. I think the Rockies bats are somewhat interesting here for a sneaky stack. This lineup is full of right-handed bats. Story leads it off at 5.1K for me. Taking on Snell, his ownership's going to be high. He's one of the better pitchers on the slate. Hasn't looked that good. 31% strikeout rate, 15% walk rate. He's been really bad against righties. I might take a shot on some Rockies here. And then on Padres side, I'm not really too interested. Gomer's not that great, but low implied over under total here. I'm just going to get different somewhere else. Last but not least, Tigers, Mariners. Mariners favorited, 8 over under. Turnbull taking on Dunn. I actually think Turnbull's actually a decent real life pitcher, 52% ground ball rate. Mariners stink. 9th overall in strikeouts. They are literally dead last in average and on base percentage. They're just full of young hitters. You never know, they can go off, but I'm just not going to get there tonight with all these other options. Mariner side, Dunn at times looks really good. 18.9% strikeout rate isn't really going to get there in DFS. He's also walking guys about 16% of the time. He's just very bad against lefties. Love lefties on the Tiger side. Grossman, Candelario, Mazzara, Castro even. I think those are guys that could possibly be in play, maybe be your late night hammer. If there's ownership on the Tigers, peace. I am not going there. But yeah, they're very much in play depending on if the field is getting there or not. And that's it. So my name's Tim. Thank you for watching this breakdown. I do these breakdowns pretty much every day. I'm putting in a lot of work here. I'm basically doing the work for you, right? Like we're getting these stacks going. I really do wish you the best of luck. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, comment below. Make sure to keep an eye out for some of that weather like we talked about earlier. And yeah, good luck. Take it easy.